This week on the Engaging Marketeer, I've got another one of those stories. You know, this shit just keeps on happening to me, but it is a brilliant example of a company that literally prints money. If you want a business idea that is just going to generate money hand over fist, and you don't really have any overheads, all you got to do is send people invoices and they pay them out of fear, this is the business for you. So what's happened? Now, last year I was on the Coliseum in Ellesmere Port. For those that don't know, it is next to Cheshire Oaks, but it's not actually part of Cheshire Oaks. The Coliseum is a shopping centre area. It's got entertainment. It's got a view cinema. It's got a Mega Bowl or Super Bowl, whatever it's called. And it's got some restaurants as well, like a Frankie and Benny's, Chiquitos, Las Iguanas, that kind of thing. And it's got car parks around the front and car parks around the back. Now, unlike Cheshire Oaks, which you can park where you want, there's no issues, there's never been any problems, the Coliseum has its car park monitored by a company called, where are they? They're called Premier Parking Limited. Just double check the name of that. Sorry, Premier Park Limited. Premier Park Limited. And Premier Park Limited is not sort of council owned, it's not government owned, it's not an official body, it's a private limited company. And it has 3 company directors at the moment, and it is based out of Devon, out of Exeter in Devon. And its company directors are, let's see, it's got Andy Parker, Paul Henson, and Paul Dawson, who's based on Wirral, just round the corner from me, which is convenient and will play a part into this podcast later on. Now, this company goes around car parks around the country, particularly the Coliseum local to me, and they will photograph people who they think have parked in a manner of which they can find them. Maybe you are over the line. Maybe you're parked horizontally across 2 spaces. Maybe you're parked on a pavement. Maybe you're parked in the middle of the tram line because you don't want to ding your doors, as I see some Porsche drivers parking. Maybe you're parked in a disabled bay and you haven't got a disabled badge. Maybe you're not parked in a car park space at all. Maybe you're on the side of a space, on a pavement, and they will take a photograph of your car and send you a fine, £100 fine through the post. Only it's not really a fine, it's an invoice. It's not a fine. They don't have the right to fine you. But it looks like a fine, it smells like a fine, people fear it's a fine, so they pay it. Now, this would all be fine if that's what they did. However, they don't just do that. They take photos of cars that are a little bit too far out of the space, as they did to me last year when I parked my 7-seater Toyota Land Cruiser. It's a big bastard. I parked it in a space and it was sticking out the front of the space. And the reason it was sticking out the front of the space is because some of the spaces on the Coliseum have sections in the middle in between the front and back space with a tree in them for decoration, for helping the environment, you know, trying to offset a little bit of that carbon that comes out of the cars by planting trees and sucking up some carbon dioxide. It doesn't really do a lot, but they're there. But what it does do is it make the spaces smaller. So my car wouldn't fit all the way in the space. It couldn't go any further back without hitting and knocking down this tree. So my car wasn't fully in the space. It was sticking out a little bit at the front. And I got a fine through the post from this Premier Parking Limited bastards. And this fine said that I was over the lines. I was over the lines. Only I wasn't over the lines because the line to the left of me and the line to the right of me, I was in perfectly, right in the middle. The line at the front of me, well, there was no line because there is no line at the front in these spaces. The front of my car was out further than the tram lines to the left and the right, but there was no line that I was over. Therefore, I hadn't crossed any lines. Only their fine, remember it's not a bloody fine, said that I was over the line. So I disputed this, obviously, as you would expect me to do. I am an argumentative person. I'm not going to take this shit lying down. And I sent them a response saying, no, I'm not over the lines. There are no bloody lines. And they backed down. They backed down and they cancelled the fine, but they didn't apologise and they didn't admit they were wrong. They said you are parked over the lines, even though the lines aren't there. But on this occasion, we will cancel the fine. Yeah, you bastards. And I left it there. I thought, you know what? I'm not going to take this any further. I've got other shit to concentrate on. I wish I'd taken it further because they've done it again. They've done it again. Just the other week, I went to the Coliseum, the most dangerous place in Ellesmere Port to park because you will be fined simply for parking there. Anybody who runs the Coliseum or is involved with the Coliseum, what the hell are you doing? But we'll come on to that in a moment. And I was parked in a space, yet again, making sure I didn't get fined for sticking out the front of the space. I was right in the space, and it was against a wall. So I parked with my wheels up against the curb, in the space to the left, to the right, and to the back. But the back of my car was overhanging the curb a little bit. Now, this curb is not big enough for you to get a pram down. It is not big enough for you to get a wheelchair down. It is barely big enough for somebody of my ample girth to walk down. Never mind do any of these other things. And I got a fine through the post. I received it today, saying that what was the phrase? Come on, let me dig this out for you. I want to read this exactly as they've put it. It was obstructive parking. Obstructive parking. Obstructing what? That's not a pavement. That's not where people walk. You can't get a pram down it. It's not wide enough. You can't get a wheelchair down it. It's not wide enough. It is part of the bloody curb to the back of the cars where people park. I am in the space. Obstructive parking. And they sent me a £100 parking charge. And this £100 parking charge, they will reduce, in the goodness of their heart, they will reduce it if I pay within 14 days to £60. Isn't that nice? However, if I do not respond and they have to take legal action, they will increase the fee to £170. Now, that is classic extortion. Here is an invoice for £100. If you pay it within 14 days, we'll take 60. Oh, shit. I don't want to pay £100, but they'll take less. They'll take less. If I pay it quick, I'll pay it quick. Oh, if I hold on and I dispute it and it goes on too long, they're going to charge me 170. Oh, no, 170 is a lot worse than 60, so I'll pay it. So a lot of people pay this. A lot of people pay this without disputing it. And when I say a lot of people, I mean a lot of people. Because I looked up Premier Parking Limited, and I looked up how much they earn. Now, their accounts have been submitted on Companies House, so I pulled these accounts down, because that's the kind of bastard that I am. I pulled these accounts down and found that in 2023, because that's their last submitted accounts, I'm waiting for their 2024 accounts to go online any moment now, because they were submitted in March in 2023, so they should be online any moment now. In 2023, they earned £9.1 million in revenue. £9.1 million in 2023. That is taking the absolute piss. They are going around photographing cars in car parks, sending them invoices, threatening them that if you do not pay the invoice within 28 days, we'll increase it to £170, but if you send us 60 quid within 14 days, we'll forget all about it. And so many people are paying it that they earned £9.1 million in 2023. Now, because they also had retained profits from previous years, yes, I went through their accounts, because they had retained profits from previous years, in 2023, they paid out to their directors dividends to the tune of £7 million. 7 million quid paid out to their directors in 2023. What an absolute fucking piss take. There's people struggling financially. There's people who can't afford to pay their gas, their electric. There's people that can't afford to pay their water rates. There's people that can't afford to pay their rents, can't afford to pay their mortgages, can't afford to keep their cars on the road. And these fuckers are going around fining people. They're not really fines, remember. They are unsolicited invoices. Unsolicited invoices. These fuckers are going around extorting people for millions and millions of pounds every fucking year, and they've just paid themselves 7 million quid in dividends. These three pricks, Andy Parker, Paul Henson, and Paul Dawson of the Wirral, these three pricks And I'm going to say that again. These three pricks are running this protection racket, this scam, this shyster racket, where they are just extorting money from people. They are conning money from people. They are sending them invoices that they are paying without knowing that they don't need to be paying it. And they're allowed to do it. And the real disappointment in all of this, the real upset in all of this, is that people who run the Coliseum and other retail establishments like them have allowed these dickheads to come onto their car park and fleece their customers. So the Coliseum is run by the Crown Estate. And they have permitted Premier Parking Limited to go on, take photos of all their customers' cars and send them fines because that somehow keeps their parking in order. Yet they are not doing it for people who are inconsiderately or obstructively parked. They're not doing it for people who are parked over double spaces or parked diagonally across spaces or parked in handicap spaces when they do not have handicap badges. No. They're doing it for every fucker. They're doing it for anyone who's parked too close to the line, anyone who's parked too close to the back of the space, anyone who's parked too close to the front of the space. They are sending this to every bastard because they know people will pay it. They know people will pay it. Well, I'm not fucking having it. I'm telling you, I'm not having it. Which is why I put this out on social media. I've tagged these pricks in it. It's getting a lot of engagement right now across LinkedIn. I'm getting a lot of comments on this. I literally did this when I recorded this podcast a couple hours ago. So we're talking, let me just do a refresh here actually on impressions. I'm doing this live on here. I don't know what it's going to be. Obviously, when this podcast goes out, at the moment, we're up to nearly 8,000 impressions on this. That's small. It's going to go a lot higher than that. It's going to go a lot higher. We're going to get a lot more engagement. I'm going to make this go big. I'm going to make this go fucking big. And I'm going to take these bastards on because I am not having people doing this because it is wrong. Now, I recently discovered my why. You may have heard the podcast a couple of weeks ago that I hate people who take advantage of others. I hate bullies. I hate people who scam people, people who rip others off. That's what these guys are doing. They're ripping people off. They are conning people out of money. And I am quite happy to be saying that because they are conning people out of money. They tried to do it to me last year, admitted they weren't going to get away with it. Never apologized. They never admitted they were wrong because that's not what they do. You don't admit liability. They wouldn't do that. They just said, on this occasion, we won't push it any further. Well, they're trying to do it again to me now, and they're trying to push it further. And I've told them, you try and push this further, and you're going to fucking regret it. And I'm going to take this as far as I can take it, and I'm going to get these fuckers stopped. I'm going to get this whole thing stopped, because that is what I do. And if anyone's not quite sure about how serious I am, maybe you might want to Google a few of the things that I've done in the past. Some of the things I started, let's see, when did I do that Yodel campaign, which is now a successful automated Twitter account? That was 2008, I think I started that. We're now at 2025. And there was the, what were they, Child Support Agency. Ooh, they fucking hated me. That's still going now. They rebranded after me. That was started in 2006 and is now being run by others across social media. And we've had videos, we've had interviews, we've had radio coverage, we've had TV coverage, we've had press coverage. I've really ripped them a new one over and over and over again. I've had threats of legal action. But did I listen? Did I care? No, I fucking didn't, because it's wrong. And I stopped them doing what they were doing. And this is what I'm going to do with these people. Now, you see if I don't. Now, go and have a look at what I've put on LinkedIn. Check out my LinkedIn profile. Darren Jameson on LinkedIn. Please follow me. Connect with me. I would appreciate it. Have a look at what I've put on this. See the story I've put up. See whether you've got a similar tale on what's happened to you. Maybe you've received a parking charge by a company that you thought, what the fuck? Why have they given me that? I haven't done anything. But you've paid it because it looked like a fine. You've paid it because they threatened legal action. They threatened a CCJ. You've paid it because they said if you pay it within 14 days, it's going to be cheaper. You've paid it because they said if you delay or you appeal it and it goes beyond that period, they'll charge you more. That is how they make their money. Remember, 2023, this company, Premier Parking Limited, made £9.1 million. 9.1 million in 2023, purely from extorting motorists. And the gross profit margin they are on is 69.7%. I know that because I pulled their accounts. 69.7% gross profit. So their revenue of 9.1 million in 2023 was up from 5.8 million the year before. I will be very interested to see what their revenue is like for 2024, which should be going online very soon. Very excited to see what that's like. And they paid themselves £7 million in dividends in 2023. That's £7 million of your money. £7 million of every person who's had a parking fine. It's not a fine, remember. £7 million of every person who's had a parking invoice and they've paid it. And these fuckers have paid themselves that, and they are laughing at all of us. And they're allowed to do it because the government's let them do it, and they're allowed to do it because companies like the Coliseum, run by the Crown Estate, are giving them permission to do it, giving them permission to rip off their customers, which again I find staggering. Not just because they should care about their customers, but because they need their customers. They need people to go to the Coliseum. They need people to drive there, to leave their cars there, to go to the cinema, to go to the restaurants, to go to the shops. Otherwise, they're not going to make any money. So why are they allowing these pricks to profit by racketeering their customers? So let me know your thoughts. Check this out on YouTube. If you're not watching the YouTube video, go and leave me a comment on that. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think on the LinkedIn post. Follow me on LinkedIn, Darren Jameson on LinkedIn. Have a look at this post. See what you think. Let me know. And if you are one of these three dickheads, and I'm going to use the word dickheads, if you are Andy Parker, Paul Henson, or Paul Dawson, you profiteering bastards, I invite you to come on this podcast and defend yourself. Come on and be interviewed. Come on and tell everybody exactly why you do, what you've done with the 7 million quid that you took as dividend, why your company is making so much profit, why you are sending people parking invoices when they are not obstructively parked or inconsiderately parked or over the lines in a space because there are no lines, why you are basically ripping people off. Come on the podcast and explain yourself. I would love to interview you. Hopefully we'll get a future podcast. I suspect we won't hear from them. I suspect they will lay very low and we won't hear a dicky bird. But I would very much like you to come on. So I invite you. I challenge you. I dare you. Come on and speak to me. See what you've got. You've been listening to The Engaging Marketeer, and I will catch you on the next podcast.